Dear God, dear stars, dear trees, dear sky, dear people, dear everything, dear God. Dear God, Celie felt the moving in her stomach. She felt the pain. At 14 years old, she didn't know what was happening to her. But she cried and moaned and pleaded to God to help her. Pleaded for assistance. But Nettie, her sister, was there. And Celie, at 14 years old, gave birth to a baby girl. Her pa took this child from her arms and never told her what happened to the baby. A year later, she gave birth to a baby boy. Once again, as she lay sleeping, Pa came in and took the baby from her. And she was left with full breasts and a deep, deep longing to know that her children were still alive. This is the story of Celie from The Color Purple. And you may have seen the movie or read the book, but Celie's journey is not an easy one that would seemingly cripple many of us. She was raped by her pa and shunned by the village for being pregnant at 14. She was not told how to be, except to work, to keep quiet, and to hide herself because she was too ugly to exist, to cover her mouth because her smile was so ugly. But there was something inside of Celie that kept going on, that kept her internal compass. And every day she'd start with, Dear God, help me. Dear God, show me. If you've read the book, it's amazing. Every page starts with Dear God. And then you see what happens in Celie's life, and your heart breaks. Her pa, after her second child, married her off to a man down the road. A man who did not want her or love her, but needed her to work the house and the fields and to take care of his kids from his previous marriage. So Celie was sold off with a cow to this man down the road, and her life got worse. This man sexually abused her and beat her. And she worked the fields and learned to keep quiet and to keep still. Nettie came to live with them because Pa was now making his moves on Nettie. I told you this is not an easy story to hear. And then Nettie was run off by Mista, the man that Celie had married. Lost from her life, seemingly forever. Celie didn't know if Nettie was alive. But the strangest thing happens at this point in the story. Celie has been here for years, working, living with the abuse. And for all of us who have experienced any kind of physical, sexual, or psychological abuse, I know and I think I understand that we get smaller, that we make choices in our lives to survive. And And to let go of those choices sometimes is the hardest thing we may ever have to do when they no longer serve us. So Celia learned how to be invisible, how not to let her light shine, and how to do what was required to stay alive. Right now on this planet, there are millions of people who do just that. And we may not understand their choices, but I think when we step back and look at it from a different perspective, it opens our hearts to what we've been through and to what others are enduring right here. So, as her husband, Mr. Father, came by to say to her one day, "Celie, my hat's off to you. Not many women endure having their mistress laid up in their house, their husband's mistress laid up in their house, because Mistress Shug had come to visit, and she was sick as a dog. And the first thing she said to Celie when she met her was, 'You sure is ugly.'"
You sure is ugly.
You there, she can say it. Later in the book and in the movie, Shug says to Celie, "I was jealous. I was jealous because you was with Mister, and I wanted to be. So I could only see you as ugly. But now I know you, and I can see who you really are. You are beautiful." You know, Celie, in that moment, cared, before that moment too, cared for Shug. Fed her, bathed her, dressed her, combed out her hair. And no matter whatever happened in Celie's life, no matter how bad it got, her kindness shined through. From the movie where Celie is just smiling like this, covering her mouth, but her soul all of a sudden lifts up. How many times have we been lifted by somebody like that? No matter what's been going on in our life, somebody who really sees you, somebody who calls you out for what you really are, is bigger than you've been playing. And that kind of reinforcement and love, that kind kind of love changes everything, no matter what has gone on before. Celie would never be the same. As I was researching this for the last couple of weeks, I stumbled across a poem. It's not from Alice Walker, who wrote The Color Purple, and it's not from the movie or the musical. It's actually from Maya Angelou, who sat in this congregation for years. And this poem, Still I Rise, spoke to me so much about this story that I decided to add it. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me into very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you so beset with gloom? Because I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and just like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like the hope springing high, I still rise. Do you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? You don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like the air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise? Like that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. Though she was trodden into the dirt, though she was shamed and shunned and beaten, Celie rises. Celie rises from that ash heap, and with the power of love that was so generously given to her by Shug and by Nettie, she remembers the truth of who she is. And Celie has some great examples. In this part of the book and the play, Sophia shows up. Now, Sophia, played by Oprah Winfrey in the movie, is quite an amazing character. She takes no shit from anybody. Right? Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no! And it was amazing for Celie to watch. Watch an empowered woman. Watch as she rises. 2 weeks ago, on Friday night, I went and saw the revival in New York City of the musical, The Color Purple. And I had seen the original, but something else had gone on, I think, in our collective consciousness, certainly in our country, since then. As I sat in the theater 2 weeks ago, I was astonished at the cheering and the screaming and the yelping and the whelping from the audience. It didn't happen the first time I saw the play. But this time, when Sophia shows up and she balls up her fist, ready to hit her husband, a name escaping me. Harpo. She hit Harpo because he dared hit her. The audience goes crazy, screaming and yelling and cheering Sophia for standing up to her abuser. It was electric in the audience. It was electric. And then when Celie stands up for herself later, the audience again loses it. And there's a standing ovation in the middle of the show, which didn't happen the saw it the first time. And I sat there basking in it, feeling the hairs on the back of my head come alive and wondering, is this because as a community we are just done with violence against women? We are just done and no longer willing to stand up for any one of us, least of which our most vulnerable children, women, and the sick, being treated with hatred and abuse. And when we hear the stories of empowerment and standing up collectively as a community, we have to cheer now. We have to say, yes, that is my story. That is who I am. There's also some amazing wisdom in this. If you know the story, Sophia, when she says hell no to the mayor's wife, gets slapped by the mayor. She hauls off and hits the mayor back. That unbridled anger lands her in jail where she's beaten nearly to death, and she lingers for years in the jail until she's finally released to be a servant, a slave to the mayor and his family. And Sophia endures again. But Celie watches and helps her everywhere along the way. In the book, they devise plans of how to get Sophia out of jail. And Celie and her brothers and her sisters all conspire to work together. And when Sophia's finally released and sitting at the dinner table, and Celie takes her big moment when she will not have it anymore, and she knows she's leaving Mr. because he has been lying and beating and abusing her for so long. And she stands up to and tells him that, no, I am leaving tomorrow and I don't want anything from you. And at one point, she takes out a knife. She's about to kill him. And Sophia says, don't do it, Miss Celie. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I know what it's like to be in prison. Don't go back there. Don't go back there. For me, there was this moment of divine wisdom of knowing when not to use violence. To stand up for yourself, but to not meet hatred with hatred. To not meet violence with violence, but meet it with love. There's a difference for standing up for yourself and abusing someone else. For retaliation, a difference between retaliation and positive self-regard. In that moment, Celie shows some amazing courage. Amazing courage. And she actually turns, this amazing moment of karma, she turns to Mr. and she says, everything you have ever done to me is coming back to you. Everything you have ever done is now on you. Everything you've done to me, you own, until you make it right with me. Right? Total karma. We are in the total of effect of all of our actions. Everyone we treat badly, everyone we talk about badly, is right back on us until we make it right. She said, I curse you with that.
Everything you think about going to fail.
It was everything about going to fail until you make this right. She walks out. She leaves. And she builds a life for herself with her and Shug. And for the first time, Celie is truly loved and truly happy. But then, the one who loved her the most made her feel the sting of betrayal one more time. And in that moment, Celie had to dig really deep to come up with the courage and the understanding to survive.
I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to love. I got my sister. I can feel her now. She may not be here, but she's still mine. I know she still loves me. I've got my children. I can't hold them now. They may not be here, but they still mine. I hope they know I still love them. Got my house, it still keeps the cold out. Got my chair with my body can't hold out. Got my hands doing good like they're supposed to. Showing my heart to the folks that I'm close to. Got my eyes, though they don't see far now. They see more of how things really are. I'm gonna take a deep breath. Gonna hold my head up. Gonna put my shoulders back and look you straight in the eye. Gonna flirt with somebody as we walk by. I'm gonna sing out. I believe I have inside of me everything I need to live a bountiful life. With all the love inside of me, I'll stand as tall as me, and I'm thankful for everything that I'm giving, both the easy and hard ones I'm living. But most of all, I'm thankful for loving who I really am. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. And I'm
In the midst of her personal hurricane, Steely finds the strength within her that is always there. She turns within and sees her own beauty, and it doesn't need Shug or Nettie or anyone else physically there to know how beautiful she really is. This is an inspiring moment for all of us, and as you just heard too, the audience goes crazy to watch that empowerment rise up. When we look inside and find that which dwells within us is greater than anything on the outside of us, there is no stopping us. Got my eyes. They don't see so far now, but they see things as they really are now. As she gets older and older, she gets stronger and stronger. And in the last line of the book and of the play, they sing, us don't feel old. Us don't feel old anymore. I find this story eluded me when I first saw it. Got the pain, got the triumph. But the spiritual message didn't quite land as deeply as it does today. Maybe that's because I'm older. But when I was rereading it, I got a Kindle copy this time. And in the new copy, Alice Walker has written a new preface. And I wanted to read to you what she says about that, because I so resonated with it. Whatever else The Color Purple has been taken for during the years since its publication, it remains for me the theological work examining the journey from the religious back to the spiritual that I have spent much of my adult life, prior to writing it, seeking to avoid. I would have thought that a book that begins with Dear God would have immediately been identified as a book about the desire to encounter, to hear from the ultimate ancestor. Perhaps it is a sign of our times that this was infrequently the case. Or perhaps it is the pagan transformation of God from patriarchal male supremacist into trees, stars, wind, and everything else that camouflaged for many readers the book's intent to explore the difficult path of someone who starts out in life already a spiritual captive, but who, through her own courage and the help of others, breaks free into the realization that she, like nature itself, is a radiant expression of the heretofore perceived as quite distant divine. She's eloquent, not I am. As a radiant expression of the heretofore perceived distant divine. It's a journey from religious to the spiritual. And as I read this, I thought, oh, this is why I keep coming back to this story over and over again. It is the unity story. It is the story that we teach. For those of you who don't know, New Thought in Unity started in the 1880s based on the writings of many people, but one of them, Ralph Waldo Emerson. We came out of the Transcendentalist movement, Walden, Emerson's writings, Thoreau and Emerson, all knowing that God was not up in the sky, but God was here within us and in everyone and everything. One of the Emerson quotes that always sticks with me is, God builds his temples in the heart on the ruins of churches and religions. Right? And standing on bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted into infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. I see all the currents of the universal being circulating through me. I am part and parcel of God. I am part parcel of God. Seeley at one point turns to Seeley at one point in the book and says, God ain't no man like you see in the pictures, no old man up in the sky. God ain't no man at all. God is in me and in you and in everything. Not one of us is exempt from the possibility of a conscious connection with all that there is. Not the poor, not the suffering, not the straight white men, not the gay folks, not the fundamentalist Christians, not politicians. Not a single soul is immune from that conversation, that connection with all that there is. This story demonstrates the new spiritual awareness, a rebirth on the planet into strong feelings of oneness, of connection, that unity and other spiritual paths have been teaching for eons. A chance for all of us to experience that which is beyond understanding, but not beyond loving. That's why I can stand here before you and say, I love God, because I see God in each and every one of you. I see God in the color purple, in the rain, in the sunshine, and all that there is. When you can say, and when we say, with confidence, I see you, great mystery. I see you. And now I expect to see you in everything and in everyone. I know at that moment that I am in my right and perfect place.
Dear God, dear stars, dear trees, dear sky, dear people, dear everything, dear God. God is inside me and everyone else. That was or never will be. I came into this world with God, and when I finally looked inside, I found it. God is the flowers and everything else that was or ever will be. And when you feel the truth so real, and when you love the way you feel, you found it. Just as sure as moonlight lets the night. Is the hope that sets us free. Your heartbeat make my heart beat when we share like a blade of dawn, like a honeybee, like a waterfall, all part of me, like the color purple. Where the wind comes from, now my eyes are open. Look what God has done, like the grain of love can make a mighty tree. Even the smallest voice can make a harmony, like a drop of water. Keep the river high. There are miracles for you and I. Breathe out, Lord, like a honeybee, like a waterfall. It's all part of me, like the color purple. Where the wind comes from, now my eyes are open. Look what God has done. I don't think us feel old at all. I think this is the youngest us ever felt.
The most amazing part of this whole show, also in this book, is that it's also a story of forgiveness and redemption. Mr. does make it right. And Celia is reunited with her sister and her children. And the love and the forgiveness that they all go through together, the understanding and the power is the redemption of the human soul. Let's take that idea of love and forgiveness and redemption to our time of meditation.